catamaran, so we've got two diesel auxiliary engines. They are the Yanmar 4JH3Es, naturally aspirated, no turbochargers involved. These engines are actually really old. They're circa 2000, so they are, they're 25 years old now, 25 years old, but 7,700 hours, so they've still got some life in them. They are really good. They start straight away, they don't miss a beat, and so as long as we change the oil on a regular basis and check them regularly, there's not much to go wrong. The beauty of diesel engines, all these auxiliaries, these are 52 horsepower, so they're moderate size. When we're cruising, we tend to use just one engine, because that will give us 6-7 knots depending on the sea condition. If you add the second engine on, you don't gain a lot and you're using twice the fuel. We use about 3 litres an hour at 2.4, 2.5 revs. Generally now I'm cruising them at about 2.1, so that seems to be quite nice. So anyway, parts of the engine. Right. Obviously the things we're going to do is we're going to change the oil filter, the fuel filter. We're going to check the coolant, we're going to check the fan belts. We're just going to generally have a good look around the engine. If they have got air filters, we can check the air filters. You'll notice that these at the back, see that these are shaft. They're not stern drives or legs, they're just straight shaft, which I particularly like. Good engine ventilation. So first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to run the engine for a few minutes to get the oil really nice and warm, so it flows out easily. Then I'm going to put, let me show you the tools here. So what we've actually got, I've got a nice stainless steel bowl I put underneath to catch the oil. I then use a drill pump to empty this into a fuel can. I've got obviously a filter wrench, and then I've got the few spanners I know I need to do this job. Okay, so I've sorted those out first. I've got spare oil filters and fuel filters ready to go. We carry a lot of spares on board, so obviously cruising in remote areas you can't get spares easily, so we have all the main things like engine water pumps, engine fuel pumps, plenty of spare fan belts as such, and we look after them. Right, so we've got all of that ready. I'm going to put on some nice gloves and get started. So far I've checked the starter motor cables down there, all good. I've checked the water pumps good, and I've checked the impeller is good, and there is the fan belt. I'm going to put a little bit more coolant water in it, about a couple of centimeters off the full mark. And then over this side we've got the oil filter down there, and we've got the fuel filter here. There's the dipstick, and the actual drain plug on this one is right down where the dipstick fits in. Some of them are underneath on the oil pan, but this one happens to be just slightly on the side, so it's a bit easier to get at. So now I'm just going to place this oil catcher underneath the engine there. Okay, so that will catch any oil that drains out, ready for pumping into the empty fuel can, which I've got ready to go. So this engine takes the synthetic 1540, so I always try and change the same oil every time, so I try not to mix up oils. Okay, and I've got plenty of rags handy, and I've got my black gloves on so I don't get covered in oil all the time. I've got my electric battery operated drill with a drill pump attached to the end. Very useful device. I'd recommend having 1 or 2 of those on board any boat. Just attaches to your drill and you can pump diesel out, oil out. You can do quite a lot with them, so I always have 1 or 2. I've always got a spare one on board. So there is the actual nut I'm going to take off and drain the oil into that stainless steel bowl that I've got. It just fits under the engine nicely, but you can't pull it out without spilling oil. That's why I have to pump it out of there into my empty can, ready for disposal when I find somewhere that can handle all engine oil. So now that I've cracked that nut, you can see oil is already starting to drip out. So what I'll do is I'll remove that plug altogether and then start pumping out. So the oil's all drained in draining into that big stainless steel bowl, and I'm just using this drill pump into an empty container here that I pump the old oil into. That's a good way of keeping it until such time as we find somewhere to dispose of all engine oil. So I'll just run it again. There we go. Perfect. So it's pretty empty now, so all I'm going to do now is just relax, have a cup of tea, let the last bit of oil drain out. Fortunately, we've got a little tiny bit of a roll, which is handy, so that will just make sure what goes out. Gearbox is at the back here, so I'll just check the gearbox oil while I'm here. Just unscrew that. And a little bit of dipstick. And put that back in. Just check the oil level. This is an old engine, so it's real basic. There's no electronic controls. It's hard to see the level on this one. Modern engines have an ECU, which is an electronic control unit. Only downside to that is if you did ever get hit by lightning, if you're unlucky enough, you would have no way of starting your engine easily. Let's take my glove off. Yeah, oil there. Doesn't show very well on the dipstick, it's so clean. It's hard to see it. Okay, I'll try one more time. My glove off. Yeah, perfect. Plenty of oil and very clean. Okay, put that back in for now. Okay, so we'll have a rest now. Let the last bit of oil drain out. Just coming out dribs and drabs, so not a lot of point in doing anything for a minute. I'd like to get as much of the old oil out as possible. Then what I'll do is I'll get the bowl out and I will just run my fingers over the bottom just to see if there's any metal bits in there. Hopefully there's none, but that's a sign of wear if you get lots of metal filings in the bottom. Okay, coming out for tea.